When you hear the word COVID-19, what word or phrase comes to mind?
Controversy.
Manipulation.
Government manipulation.
David from Texas.
A very real illness is manipulated by the government for political reasons.
A serious illness.
I would say a weapon used in many different ways.
Brian.
I would say real virus, but it's been overplayed or used for political gain.
I would say never let a good crisis go to waste is the perspective of politicians.
Hey, real quick, Tim Pool tried to do this one too. Never let a good crisis go to waste. You shouldn't. You shouldn't let a good crisis go to waste. Oftentimes, people are only spurred to action by extreme moments. You shouldn't let a good crisis go to waste. Now, I know that people try to phrase this as like, oh, well, now something big happens, so they're trying to do something, blah, blah. Well, yeah, of course. Because this is usually when people are spurred on to the most, like, change. Like, imagine if you said the same thing for somebody that decided, like, oh, wow, you almost died using heroin. Like, whoop-de-doo, never let a good crisis go to waste. Now you're trying to turn your life around. Yeah, well, yeah, of course. These are, like, the moments where you have the most opportunity to make that type of change. I'm sorry, people just mindlessly utter that phrase. So just, yeah.
I would call it a hyped-up version of the flu.
Opportunistic and exhausting.
Panic porn.
I would say a weaponized, engineered disease, which has been cynically and irresponsibly used for the politicization of medicine.
I say deadly but manageable.
When I say COVID-19 vaccine.
A miracle, albeit suspicious.
Lauren.
Unsure. Too many questions.
Rushed.
Experimental.
Impressive but hesitant.
Scary, not knowing the long-term side effects.
Experimental and unknown how it will affect long-term.
I wish that, like, I guess the only thing that bothers me about people like this is I wish that the thought process that leads them down here is not one of skepticism. It's one of blind political bias. So, for instance, if somebody came up to me and they were like, I am incredibly fucking skeptical of what's in vaccines. And I'm like, oh yeah? And they're like, yeah, I don't trust any of that stuff. Like, I literally only eat a pure 100% organic, like, fruits and vegetable diet. I live far outside of the city where I avoid all pollution. I exercise for 2 hours a day because I'm incredibly paranoid about my health. Like, if somebody gave me an answer, I'd be like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll let you, yeah, okay. But when people are like, I'm incredibly fucking paranoid about what's in the vaccine, but like, I work in polluted environments all day. I eat a ton of horrible fucking junk food. Like, I sit on the couch and I consume stuff on the internet and the television without any amount of exercise. Like, okay, wait, well, hold on, wait a second. How are you so unbelievably fucking skeptical about this one thing and paranoid about this one thing, but all this other stuff that does demonstrable fucking harm to you, right? You're fucking blowing these massive fucking vape clouds. You're like, putting all sorts of weird shit in your body. Like, how are you not paranoid about any of that shit? Wait, I don't understand. Like, it seems like you don't actually have some type of skepticism or paranoia around medical stuff. It's just a political narrative that's like convenient for you to follow. And there are certain people that you'll listen to and buy into their paranoia about stuff, Like, it's like, yeah, like how many boomers will sit here and tell me that they're paranoid about like I'm pretty paranoid about like what's in the vaccine, but the filter on the cigarette's going to keep me from getting cancer. Like, really? Come on, dude. No way.
Long-term side effects.
Efficacy unknown.
Don't hold my...
Is your mom paranoid about the vaccine? She probably would be, but like for my mom's values, like my mom, I think, is like very, like my mom's number one thing is like protecting her kids. So like she might be paranoid about some stuff, but she'll always err on the side of caution of like protecting her children. It's like me and my sister were like vaccinated for fucking everything. And then like the only reason, because my mom's like super religious and against masturbation and all that shit too. The only reason why I'm not circumcised is because my mom said, oh, like I don't like the idea of like putting my kids through unnecessary pain after childbirth. Like, it wasn't like some conscious decision to be anti-circumcision or blah, 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 blah. She just likes the idea of like protecting her kids. So like at the very end, even if my mom is paranoid about some stuff, I know like what values she's appealing to at the end of the day. So I can like at least understand that she's consistently appealing to that in terms of like what in terms of like the decisions that she'll make or what she'll believe in.
Maybe not necessary.
Not sufficiently tested.
Untrustworthy.
Were they explicitly looking for anti-vaxxers?
It's a new class of vaccination. I think the short-term testing was extremely good, but again, we don't know the long-term side effects. And there's I want to know what's going to happen at this point in time with my age and my health. My fear of the vaccine is more than my fear of getting the illness.
Jesus.
How many of you would agree with that statement, that your fear of the vaccine is greater than your fear of getting the illness? Raise your hands. That is almost everybody. Not everyone, but almost.
I don't know the average age of those people. That's actually not the craziest. If you're like a relatively healthy person and you're part of like because the fatality inside of serious and the rate of serious complications are probably pretty low, assuming you don't have any comorbidities or everything. Although this panel looks a bit older, and it's America, so I'm sure there's more than a couple diabetics here. I'm sure there are a couple more overweight people here, and I bet somebody on here has asthma, so it's a little bit surprising though.
Almost everyone. Anthony Fauci. Word or phrase to describe, hold on. Word or phrase to describe Anthony Fauci.
Liar.
Puppet.
Inconsistent.
Flip-flopper.
Self-serving.
Opportunistic.
I've tuned him out, frankly. I have no opinion anymore. I don't listen to him.
I'm not going to let you board a plane without having a passport, a digital passport that says that you got the COVID-19 vaccine. If that were the case, how many of you in this group, how many of you would get the vaccine? If you knew that you could not get on a plane, okay, so Debbie would.
I would delay it as long as possible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rush to do it. I would change my travel plans.
Yeah.
Okay, but Lauren, you would do it.
I love to travel. I've been sitting, we haven't traveled. I'm used to going away 3-4 times a year. So if this is the only way I could go away, I'm going to have to take the chance.
I think eventually I would cave and I would get the vaccine, even though like my husband and I both survived COVID last month. He almost died, but
Jesus.
I still think that at some point I might be forced to do it. And I would rather it be my choice than it be forced upon me by other entities.
I would get the vaccine. We love to travel and we love to take cruises. And so I would get it to travel.
Give me a word or phrase, nothing more, to describe Donald Trump's handling of the COVID virus.
Amazing.
Did the best he could with what he was given.
Impressive.
Affected our freedom.
Leadership.
Excellent.
Good, except for the warp speed part of Operation Warp Speed.
Mixed.
Very impressive.
Pretty good overall.
Impressive.
It was the best as what he could do, but I wish he wouldn't have tweeted as much. Didn't help his case.
We're just doing COVID-19 here. Maria from New York.
I think he did an excellent job.
He was all in, but he tended to listen to the wrong people sometimes.
I like that he brought in the private sector as fast as he did.
He let Fauci and Burks and that crowd hang around too long and influence him. As some folks said, he did the best that he could, but he listened to the wrong people.
The right people
He did
were
an
like
amazing job.
Steve Bannon,
Adam from New York.
but
Overall,
not Anthony
excellent,
Fauci.
but underrated.
Who are you more likely to trust when it comes to getting the vaccine? Donald Trump or your own doctor?
Donald Trump.
You got to choose.
What a good question.
Donald Trump or your own doctor? Who's going to have a greater influence on whether or not you get the vaccine? Raise your hand if you say Donald Trump.
No, these guys are lying.
Wow,
no
how
way.
quickly they forget.
No,
So your own doctor is more important than Donald Trump.
I think people who have doubts and concerns about how this has been handled are so unfairly maligned as being COVID deniers or grandma killers.
Yeah, the virus is real. But everybody's ignoring the actual facts of the virus. The great media thing. If you're over 65 or if you're fat, you're much more likely to get the virus and possibly die from it. And nobody has, they totally ignored that and made it like the one gentleman said, people that you thought were normally sane, intelligent people were totally like, oh my God, I'm going to die from this virus. And so the media totally feeds on that and wants to sell that. And everybody that they don't think. They just panic.
I guess I would quote, I talked to a person from Russia and his wife in a small group of friends years ago. And he said to me something that was jarring at the time, but now I see it. He said, the difference between America and Russia is that in Russia, we knew everything that came out of the media was propaganda. In America, you have to discern it for yourself. And I thought, okay, we have more freedom of the press. It seems that that's like a prophecy of some kind. I don't want to get crazy, but I'm just saying that seems that the media and
Oh my God. Anyone else see that YouTube video with that Russian KGB defective spy and how he's exactly correct about every single prediction? Media bias.
The engine that works has been so laid bare throughout. It's so much more eye-opening. Like you thought it was kind of, they all had their biases, but you were willing to take it with a grain of salt. But now it's heightened to such a level that it's just mind-blowing. In the past, I would have been throwing that out with, oh, whatever. But now it's just so much more obvious. And that's why it's sad because I don't know who to trust. And that's not the America I grew up in.
Well, Frank, can I just say that
Frank,
it's all very logical. Like I look at this logically. There's no, craziness of because
Conspiracy,
I think one way
there's
politically
logic.
that I can't look at logic and reason. And I think what you said very kind of cavalierly about so what that the pharmaceuticals let the results out 5 days after the election. And to me, that's a big so what. It makes you doubt a little bit of the motives and the politicization of science. So if you really want us to trust the science, I think politics has to be taken out of it.
And also, if we could be told that by being vaccinated, things would get back to normal again.
And they don't even say
and that happened, but that's not happening.
No.
Things
Still
are
wear
shut
masks.
down.
Yep.
Right.
Still masks. Don't get together with family. It doesn't
Biden
even
said the
matter
other
that you're
night.
I mean, we're like on the first, like, give us like a month, right?
Maybe.
Small gathering, maybe.
Wait. What did Biden say? It wasn't the 4th of July. There was some holiday coming up where I thought Biden literally said, my goal is that all of us can get together and have a normal... It wasn't the 4th of July. I thought it was an earlier holiday. Was it 4th of July? Oh, maybe it was.
We do this together. By July the 4th, there's a good chance you, your families and friends will be able to get together in your backyard or in your neighborhood and have a cookout and a barbecue and celebrate Independence Day.
Where he's like, yeah, everybody can go together and have a normal 4th of July. And he even said that some months ago. So that timeline might even be like sooner now, considering how well everything has gone.
If we behave.
Yes, 4 people and a few hot dogs. I mean, that's to me, if everyone's getting vaccinated, we got to move on.
And now they just keep it going. It's not going to be taken out. It's not.
Right.
Nope.
The fear mongering started at the beginning and it's never ended.
Right.
And if there was a point that I want to see the data point that says when we reach herd immunity and what percentage, is there a percentage of the population that could be vaccinated and then we're herd immunity? Because I haven't heard that.
Isn't it like 70% or something?
The minute they tell you that, the goalposts will move again, right? Because it was how many days until we're done and we can take off our masks, and 3 weeks until if we all do this, then it'll be over. And we're tired of that. They set it up and then it moves. And so how do you trust that if we all get to vaccination level, we're going to be done with this?
And don't forget the WHO changed the definition of herd immunity from natural to vaccinated. So talk about politicizing science.
Dr. Freeman.
It sounds reductive sometimes to say like everything is political. And I understand why people feel like, okay, well, that's kind of reductive. But I mean, it's kind of true. So it's hard. Like, how do you not politicize something that requires like a political response, right? That's really, I don't know how you would do that.
If you get infected with the virus, it will go all over your body and stay there for at least a week and be much more likely to cause you long-term problems than the vaccine. 2, if you get the vaccine, it will prime your immune system, but then the vaccine is gone. It will not.
Wait, this is a doctor guy? Wait, the virus will go all over your body? I thought the virus itself, SARS-CoV-2, I thought it only reproduces in the lungs. I thought that's why it causes an acute respiratory infection. No, it's not acute. Yeah, it's acute. What does SARS stand for? Sudden acute respiratory syndrome? It's in your bloodstream? Yeah, but it doesn't like duplicate or fuck anything else up on your body, does it? Or does it? I don't actually know. I thought that it only like, it's called a cytokine storm, what happens inside your immune system. Well, your immune system can cause damage in other parts of your body for sure. But I didn't think the virus itself did. I thought the virus itself, I guess that people were talking about like blood clots and shit, potentially. There are ACE receptors on tons of different cells. They're just concentrated more in the lungs. Okay.
Not be with you anymore. 3, more than 95% of the doctors who've been offered this vaccine have gotten it as soon as they can. 4, the more we vaccinate, the faster we can get back to growing our economy and getting jobs. And 5, if people get vaccinated, we're going to save at least 100,000 lives of Americans who would otherwise be killed by COVID.
Okay, I want a show of hands. How many of you would say that those 5 facts are impactful to you? Raise your hands if they're impactful.
Wait, people didn't know any of that?
Wow, that's a lot of you. Please tell me why. Jen from Iowa, then Michael from Oklahoma, then Lisa from Ohio. Why are those facts impactful?
I think that the way you worded it does kind of paint the whole idea of getting the vaccination in a little more positive light. But I am still a little hesitant because of not really knowing what the long-term effects of the virus are. So for me, I feel like also I'm in a younger group where maybe it's not necessarily a requirement for my age.
The first fact that Dr. Frieden gave to me, I think, was the most impressive. I'm 65 years young. Like I said, I've been hesitant. Both my wife and I think that we probably had COVID towards the end of last year, but neither one of us have been diagnosed with having COVID. We haven't had the vaccine. I don't see I don't see the need for it right now. But what Dr. Frieden just said, I think, was pretty impactful to me.
I understand where you're coming from. And let me give you a different perspective, or kind of perspective why I understand where you're coming from. I think that's why the election was lost, was COVID.
Yeah, almost for sure.
I sat
Trump's response to
in a situation room in the White House a year ago and listened to Dr. Fauci tell me not to wear a mask because humidity, what the mask would build up, would actually be worse for us. And I watched him change his mind. I watched the president standing next to him think that for 14 days, we had to shut down only for the capability of the hospitals that they don't get overrun. And then once it was shut down, I watched the medical people come to him and say he had to keep it shut. I watched the willpower of the president say no and go with what he truly believed. But I watched the president every step of the way say, do not cut anything short. Do you know why we have 3 vaccines today? It's because President Trump. And when I watched Joe Biden claim the vaccine wasn't even there until he was president, even though he got it ahead of time. Do you know?
I thought Biden claimed that there was no distribution plan for the vaccine ahead of time. Also, I don't know if Trump gets credit for all 3 vaccines. Did the pre-purchase agreement only apply to the Pfizer one? Like, I don't know if it applied to all of the other ones. What vaccine was the Warp Speed pre-purchase plan applied to?
When the phase 3 they went through, normally they only test like 10,000 people. On all these, they tested 30, 40,000. They went beyond it. And it was almost like that American moment where here was a virus that came from China.
Oh, God.
We didn't invite it. We didn't wish it. But it was almost like the willpower of the ingenuity of America that we were going to defeat it. And not just for America, but for the entire world. And yes, when I sat back and I watched these pharmaceutical companies, we find out they only brought it forward like a week after the election, when they knew the answer ahead of time. And when you saw it and you looked at the answer, like I get a flu shot every year because I'm shaking everybody's hand. But I don't assume that flu shot that I'm not going to get the flu because it usually only works 10% of the time. But these tests came back.
Wait, what? Why is this guy being allowed to talk so much? What does he mean a flu vaccine only works 10% of the time?
At 95%. Nothing comes back that great. They were hoping for 50%.
is Kevin's argument moving you? And I'm sorry, the majority is the Republican leader's argument moving you at all?
Soon.
Doug from California.
Wait, this is the Republican congressional leader. Oh, wait, this is like oh, wait, is this? Wait, who is talking right now? I thought this was a random dude on the panel. Oh, yeah. Wait, I don't actually know what this guy looks like. Okay. Jesus Christ.
Frank, honestly, I'm a big fan of data.
Oh, God.
And I'm a big fan of reasoned, intelligent choice. So I think people ought to be able to look at the facts and look at there are 40,000 adverse reactions to some of these viruses, to some of these vaccines, and come up with their own reasoned choice with their doctor. And it's not Joe Biden's decision whether or not everyone in America should be forced via corporations and airlines to get the vaccine. Oh, you can't see your kid because you didn't get the vaccine.
Frank.
So I think it was, I think, I have a lot of people in my family that have gotten it. They're happy, they're thrilled. I get emails, Eureka, I got a spot. Good for them. And if you want to take it, great. And if you don't, and if you look at the data and you want to wait, you should be allowed to wait. So sorry, that's my view.
Is Congressman Winstrup on this? So you've been giving vaccines out to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people during the weekends when you put on your National Guard uniform. What would you tell these people to convince them that they should be taking the vaccine?
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot of this in the whole process. Everyone's really talking.
Why? There are so many weird, strange, ironic phrases that people that just peddle in conspiracy theories say, like, I only follow the facts. I like to do my own research. I don't like it when people give me emotional arguments. But these are all really good statements. These are all really true. But everybody, without fail, that utters a statement like this absolutely doesn't do any of the fucking things that they talk about. What the fuck?
But I want to talk for a minute about one of the things people question, what does that mean if it's 95% effective? What does that actually mean? And that's a good question. So when you do a trial, half the people get a placebo and half the people get a vaccine. And so in the Pfizer, for example, the Pfizer study, of the patients that had placebo, 162 developed COVID. Of those that got the vaccine, only 8. So you take that total that got COVID in that whole trial was 170. So 8 out of 170 got the vaccine and still got COVID, which is about 5%, which gives you the 95% figure. So if that makes sense. But one of the things that stands out to me is after being fully vaccinated, 0 in the trial were hospitalized or died. And obviously that's a positive.
Actually, hold on one second. Hold on. Sure. Repeat that statistic about the trial.
So it said after fully vaccinated, 0 people in the trial ended up hospitalized or died that got vaccinated.
Okay, Brian from Texas, your reaction to that argument?
I think that's a good argument, and I think my basic thing is that I'm not in a super hurry to get the vaccine, but once it gets available and it's not a rush, I probably will get it. And I think that's a good argument there because I think that there's a lot of science out there that people aren't
aware of.
They're ignoring.
Is tin always near water in this game?
The reason that they're getting it is because they're more susceptible to all kinds of diseases. If they weren't going to, COVID just happens to be the one that gets them first.
Because I've already had COVID and I'm a believer in the natural immunity from having the COVID. I will probably get it at some point, the vaccine. I just don't see any rush to do it until they can show me that people who have had COVID are more likely to have severe cases of COVID again the second time around. I just don't. Right now, the science that I've seen shows that to be to the contrary.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
Thanks, Bush.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you
Thanks,
love
Barack.
from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people and we've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get
He's like
vaccinated.
100 years old, isn't he?
To you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot.
Now it's up to you.
Describe the impact of that ad.
Not much, really.
Jen from Iowa.
Not a lot.
It was kind of like propaganda, honestly.
It actually kind of annoyed me.
Michael from Oklahoma.
Bad actors, no impact.
Wow, they're presidents, not actors, but Lee from Ohio.
Turn off. Unity.
Nothing but a celebrity endorsement.
Wrong people. Impacted me badly.
Peter from Missouri.
That populism, boys.
No impact.
If it had been just George Bush, I think I trust him. He got us through 9/11. But with everybody else, it's, and I don't mean to pick sides.
We got a neocon in here, boys.
We've been through a lot.
And we're getting through it together.
It was a challenge unprecedented.
And so many.
Oh
rose
no,
to the
the
occasion.
media, this is gonna be even worse.
Now, with the end in sight, we hope.
We have to keep up the fight.
Wear a mask, distance where possible, and if you can, get the vaccine.
America, we're in this together.
And I'm going to go in the other direction.
Later.
Ineffective pandering.
It didn't make a difference, but I don't not like it.
Better than the last one, but they lost me with the mask.
Doug from California.
It had no impact at all.
Melodramatic, we're all in this together, saturation, enough.
A little more feeling. I didn't feel it was as phony as the former presidents.
Two more. Chad from Minnesota.
Chad.
It was better. It was much better. It left some leverage in there for free will. I think it didn't feel as go do it and that's your only option. But it wouldn't move me to get it. I would do what I can to prevent it.
Yeah, no effect.
Okay, so which ad was better? The president's ad or the Fox News ad? Which ad would have a better impact on you? Who says the president's ad? Not one of you. Who says the Fox News ad?
Do we have to choose?
Yeah, I mean, give in between the two.
Not that good.
Yeah.
Okay, who says none of them?
None of them.
None of them.
Hey,
Well, I think what I'd say to you is talk about three different experiences that I've had with COVID. And the point I want to try to make is how random it is. That, and you can hear that from the conversations I've heard today. You know, as Patrick saying he had a cold for 3 days and didn't really feel all that badly. You all know how I got it. I went into what was supposed to be the safest place in America, the White House. And I went and I got tested every day as I walked in. And brought to the Eisenhower building.
No. Oh, it sounds like, oh no, it is Chris Christie. Oh my God, wait, he looks so much older now.
Swabbed, had to wait there for the test results to come back. If they came back negative, which they did every day that I was there, in the 4 days leading up to the first presidential debate, I could then go into the West Wing. And there were 7 people in the map room at the White House for about 16 hours over 4 days together. And of those 7 people, 6 of them got COVID. In the place that was the safest, most tested place in America. And the only person who was in that room who did debate prep with us, with the president, who didn't get COVID in the immediate aftermath of the first presidential debate was Jason Miller, who was one of the president's campaign aides. Why he didn't get it, I have no idea why he didn't get it, and I got it, and Hope Hicks got it, and Kellyanne Conway got it, and the president got it, Bill Stepien got it, and Stephen Miller. All of us got it. All of us got it at a bit of a different time. And all of us got it at a bit of a different severity. And by randomness, I mean, I was the sickest of everybody and had the longest hospitalization. The next sickest person was the president. But the next sickest person after that was Hope Hicks, who was the youngest and most fit person in that room. Someone who, ran 4 to 5 miles every day, in her early 30s, and was the most fit. She was out of it for a good 10 days and never had to be hospitalized, but called me during it and told me it was the sickest she'd ever been. 2 other people in my family, a 64-year-old cousin who was a smoker, and so she had some potential problem, got it, felt okay in the beginning, wound up hospitalized. Her husband, 63, no pre-existing conditions, great shape. In fact, was still working every day as an active longshoreman on the docks in New Jersey. He got sick as well, caught it presumably from his wife. They both wound up being hospitalized, and 2 weeks ago, they both passed away.
Jeez.
How has your opinion changed about the vaccine, if at all? How likely were you to get it when you started this session 2 hours ago? And how likely you are now? And please, I want to know the moment if your opinion changed.
So I think my opinion has changed. Before I would have said I was in the middle of the fence on whether or not I would get the vaccination. And now I'm leaning a little more towards getting the vaccination. So I probably went from a 5 out of 10 to maybe a 7 out of 10 towards leaning that way. For me, I think the most impactful part was just listening to Dr. Friedman?
Okay.
Sorry. Talk about some of the logistics and like when they were making the vaccine and some of the background information on it that I don't believe had been shared enough with us as Americans. And for me, that
surprised me because I feel like that
biggest
information is just it's a Google search away. It's so easily available.
Probably 80% against when this started today. Now I'm probably 50-50-ish. Between the numbers that Dr. Friedman gave and honestly the story that Governor Christie gave about a healthy adult that ended up passing away from it.
The one story.
It really has made me think a little bit.
I would say I was 50-50 when we started. I'm maybe 75 in favor now of getting it. Only if it means I can get into the nursing home to see my mother. That would probably push me a lot quicker. I like the doctors. I like the medical situation when they give us the facts and talk to us without any politics involved. I think that helps me see that my bias was probably with the political side of it, getting involved and just separating the medical side of it. If I can look just at the medical and health side of it, I'm much better off than when they mix politics in with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Luntz.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell.
A dad ate 25 packs of silica gel for breakfast.